Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Left Konoha and Goes to Sunagakure, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. A year came and went like it had never been there. Naruto had a successful first year as a teacher, and truth be told, he really enjoyed it. He could understand why Iruka loved to teach. It was such a fulfilling sensation. His students, while somewhat put out that he still didn't care to know the names, were respectful of their teacher and had taken to his style of teaching with gusto. His relationship with Temari had become more defined and, while not yet in a serious relationship with the brash Kunoichi, he was hopeful that perhaps they would have something more defined at a later date. He tried dating a few other women, much to Temari's unvoiced disdain, and had found them lacking what he saw in his fellow blonde. The only one who came close was his fellow teacher, Carrie, but she just didn't click with him on any level. She was kind, yes, pretty, yes, but she lacked what Naruto wanted in a potential girlfriend and, possibly later, wife. She lacked that fire in her belly, that need to struggle for dominance that Temari possessed. Perhaps that was what Naruto's problem was. He was just like his father in that respect. He needed a woman who would challenge him and wouldn't be afraid to tell him if he was wrong. In effect, he needed a woman who wasn't afraid of him, and Temari had proven time and time again that she most assuredly wasn't afraid of him. His thoughts swung from his burgeoning romance with the Wind Mistress to all he'd learned from his parents' scrolls over the past year. He'd mastered the Rasengan, his father's prize jutsu, and then expanded on it by completing the Raisin Shuriken. It still wasn't without its risks, but he had such control over it now that the damage was down simply to cuts and bruises. Definitely an improvement over the previous arrangement. He delved even further into his father's scrolls and had developed a healthy respect for the man that he'd never met, the father he'd never known. He literally had hundreds, possibly thousands of jutsus at his disposal. They encompassed everything from Futen to Kaiten, and he had begun to slowly master them one by one. Currently, he was only learning the low-level ones, and copying them down to show his students. He wanted to learn as others learned, he wanted to share with those he had come to call his. They were his students, and while it was generally frowned upon for academy teachers to take a vested interest in their students, he technically still had 3 years to teach them. His students could all walk in and take the Genin exam right now and completely blow away any and all expectations, but what would be the fun in that? He wanted them to decimate the exam, destroy it, and show its incompetency. And his teaching style had not been lost on the other instructors. They'd all taken a more vested interest in their students, and the academy had blossomed because of it. This was looking to be the best crop of students to come out since the Sand siblings. Naruto shifted the scroll in his lap and read a little bit more. He kept getting lost in his thoughts about it being his anniversary in sooner and the date that Temari had promised him when she got back. She was due to arrive sometime that evening and had insisted that he take her out so she could unwind. He had offered to cook her a meal instead, but she insisted, and he never could persuade her when she began to pout. Not to say she always got her way. Naruto had long ago figured out that the fiery Kunoichi loved a good battle of wills and wit, and he made it a point to fight her tooth and nail when he absolutely wanted to do something. The fact that they both usually ended up having a good time, regardless of who won, was indicative of their respect for each other, if not their attraction. He shook his head and turned back to the scroll. He was getting off track again. But as he looked over the writing, his mind began to wander again. The scroll he currently had splayed out was a thesis on the functionality and usefulness of Fuan Jutsu, and, while he took an exceptional interest in sealing jutsus, he just couldn't focus at the moment. With a growl of frustration, he rolled the scroll up and sat it on the ground beside the couch before lying back with his hands behind his head. He closed his eyes and began to think back over the past year. His mother's jutsus were not nearly as destructive as his father's, but he enjoyed them immensely. Especially, the jutsu that allowed him to command the green. He still didn't completely understand what the force was, but he was beginning to get there. He'd read of a genjutsu that he could use to cover his property and had taken great pains to ensure that no one stumbled upon his work until he was ready to show it to the public. When he did, he was sure that it would change sooner forever. He dug in his father's jutsus until he'd found a doton jutsu for changing the landscape personally and had erected a huge wall around his land, butting it up against the walls of Suna and then layering the genjutsu over the top of the wall so that it appeared to be nothing more than sand and lots of it. The inside of that wall could not be further from the truth. Naruto had finally mastered the art of commanding the green, and the entirety of that landscape was awash in color. Gone were the browns and grays of the former desert, to be replaced by trees bearing fruit, bushes with berries, and lush green grass. Naruto had rerouted an underground river to feed the land and had gone home very sore several times with bloody knuckles from digging through the bedrock. And it had been worth every damn second. When he did finally get around to building a home for himself, it would be the most comfortable place in Suna, at least until he started his project of transforming Suna to a lush wonderland of green. He smiled as he thought of what he would be doing for his new homeland. Surely they would love the change, right? They had been a desert for so long, surely they would love to have their own gardens, their own parks. They wouldn't be such a desolate land anymore. But people are loath to let go of the past, and Naruto understood that. Despite his hard work, some may be resentful of what he was doing and think that he was trying to bring Konoha to them. But he wasn't. He just wanted them to be happy. He wanted his new village to be prosperous, and one way to do that was to make them independent of the need for trading for food. With the green came a bounty of fruits and vegetables, nuts and flowers. And with the bounty came animals to live in the flora and be hunted by the people of Suna. It made sense to him. He'd run it by Gaara before he did anything, of course, but his land would be green regardless. His eyes scrunched as he remembered his brief viewing of that little furry beast, and he could swear that he was being followed all the time now. Ever since he'd first made that little patch of green, he would find himself catching a blur out of the corner of his eye, or he'd round a corner of an alley and find a raccoon digging through the trash, only to see him looking and just disappear. It was quite disconcerting. He thought back to all the he and Kankuro had pulled with both of their legendary prankster SKS, he with his cage bunshin and Kankuro with his puppets. They were a force to be reckoned with. And his relationship with the puppet master had risen to a great friendship when girls began to ask Kankuro out just because he was Naruto's housemate and therefore had to be cool. When he'd gone out on dates without the makeup, no one had recognized him and some thought he was actually quite handsome. Until he opened his mouth. Naruto chuckled at the hopelessness of his friend's dating situation. Unless Kankuro changed his approach, he just wasn't going to get anywhere with the fairer S. Of course, thinking of Kankuro made him think about his best friend, Gaara. The Kazekage would come out of his shell only around his siblings and Naruto, and sometimes Matsuri, his former pupil, if she caught him on a good day. It turned out that Gaara was a closet pervert, and Naruto had a conniption fit when he found one of Jiraiya's books in Gaara's desk drawer. His ire grew more when Gaara monotonously asked if he would care to borrow it, as long as the pages weren't stuck together when he brought it back. So Gaara had developed a dirty sense of humor over the years. It was a marked improvement from homicidal, at least. As he drifted in that blissful state between sleep and consciousness, Naruto thought of his correspondence letters to Tsunade and Jiraiya. He was always delighted to hear from them and somewhat saddened by the first few letters. The only ones who never really cared how he was doing were his former teammates, and that hurt. He'd gotten over it quickly, but it was still a betrayal to him and he didn't like that. Jiraiya and Tsunade promised to visit when they had time, and he couldn't wait for them to. They'd be so surprised when they saw his home. He'd gotten several personal letters from all his friends. Hinata had wished him well and wanted to see him again someday. She was in a relationship with Shino of all people. Apparently, she'd outgrown her loud, boisterous boy stage and had taken a shining to the strong, silent type. Her father, while not particularly happy about her choice, had begrudgingly allowed her to date Shino. It helped that any negative comments were dispelled when Shino had his bugs form a message in the air above him, while Hinata stood in front of him and before her father, pleading their case. She didn't know what words they'd formed, but judging by her father's somewhat paler face, it must have been some threat, and secretly, she loved it. Kiba was dating a civilian girl. His dominant personality demanded no less than an obedient girl. Lee demanded a spar again, and once Naruto had read past all the youths and springtime comments, he'd found his friend truly missed him. Tenten did too, even though they were never close, and despite his stoicism, Neji expressed a desire to spar with him as well. Shikamaru had said it was too troublesome to write a letter, but had written his signature at the bottom of one of Ino's, under threat of bodily harm no doubt. Chuji had written him a letter and sent him a case of instant ramen as a reminder to come home and visit one day. The Ichirakus had told him that he had a lot of eating to make up for, and he'd better bring a big wallet, because they wanted compensation for time missed. Aruka had scolded him for not writing more often, but had wished him well and had said that he would be one of the ones coming to visit with the Hokage and Jiraiya. All his other friends and acquaintances had written at one time or another, and Naruto always made it a point to write back. His last letter from Tsunade and Jiraiya though kind of rattled him. The council, the bastards who had denied him his heritage, wanted him back, badly. Naruto could understand their skepticism on his being the Namikaze heir, but when you have the word of a Hokage and a Sannin, what more do you need? He'd all but been a carbon copy of his father, down to the attitude outside of battle and in battle. But they hadn't wanted him to be the heir until it was too late and his mind was made up. But now they wanted him back and were willing to barter a trade with Suna to get him back under their thumb. Naruto blew a raspberry and chuckled under his breath. Like Gaara would ever let him leave now. He was just about to drift off to sleep and wait for Temari to come home when he felt a weight on his chest and opened his eyes to find himself nose to nose with a masked furry object. He blinked once, twice, 3 times. The damned rodent was still there. The only thing that kept him from jumping to his feet and screaming was the fact that he'd been dealing with the toads puffing in and out for years. He watched with curious eyes as the red furry thing sniffed him and then sat back on its haunches before waving a paw. Yo. Naruto blinked again and raised his hand in similar greeting. Yo. It was the red furry thing's turn to look stupefied, and it tilted its head to the side. You're not going to scream and holler? Not afraid that I just appeared in your house? Not really. I've dealt with animals of your kind before. I used to be a holder of the toad contract. Ah, I thought you smelled faintly of those frogs. Naruto was now slightly miffed at the rodent and didn't enjoy his nap being interrupted. Do you have a reason for being here? I was kind of in the middle of a nap. And whose summon are you? I have a good reason for being here. You weren't asleep yet, and I'm no one's summon at the moment, although that could change. What do you mean? All will be revealed in time. I need you to come with me to the desert. My master would like to meet you. And who is your master? The great king of the raccoons, coaties, ringtails, and yours truly, red pandas. We are all part of the same family and have one king that rules over all of us. He, himself, is a great raccoon. I thought raccoons were different from you. Not so much. The entire royal family is raccoons, but many nobles are red pandas. Strange. I wouldn't have thought any noble families to be anything but the dominant species. We choose our rulers by strength. Whoever is the strongest and wisest are the rulers. At one time, we were ruled by red pandas, one time by coaties, and one time by ringtails. The raccoons just usually win the test of strength. Hey, I thought raccoons were nocturnal. It's the middle of the freaking day. And as one who held a contract with a summon, you should know that we don't always follow all the rules. Now are you ready to meet Tsubasa-sama? Is that his name? Yeah, sure, I'll meet the furball. A quick bite on the hand made him regret that. Never insult Tsubasa-sama. You think Gamabunta is terrible when he's mad. Get on the wrong side of the king. Raccoons can use jutsu too, you know. We have paws that are close to being hands. He'll drown your ass with a suit in jutsu. Naruto nodded and allowed himself to be led to the desert. The people of Suna were amused to see the Chunin schoolteacher being led along by a small red panda. Naruto ignored their chuckles and comments to the best of his ability, but in the end, he settled for a sour look on his face. It wasn't his fault that interesting things always happened to him. Seriously, it wasn't his fault. Temari let out a small groan as the gates of Suna came into view. She wanted nothing more than to let Naruto massage her sore end with his skefful hands and then enjoy a nice relaxing dinner with him. Over the past year, they had become closer and she knew that she nearly had him reined in for a relationship. Hell, she wanted it badly, she'd admit. It was nice having someone to do things with who treated you like a regular person instead of the sister of the Kazekage. She flashed her pass to the gate guards and began her trudge home. Since Konoha and Suna had decided that they only needed one liaison between the two villages, she had been running ragged and had not seen nearly enough of her hopefully soon-to-be boyfriend. Sure, it was great seeing her friends in Konoha, but it was always business, never pleasure, and that Sakura B kept shooting her dirty looks whenever she visited the Hokage's office. At least Hinata was still nice to her. She smiled as she passed through the gates into her house. Kankuro was nowhere in sight, probably on a mission. Good. That meant she had Naruto all to herself, unless Gaara showed up. But with his schedule, he'd probably be busy all night. Oh, she needed a rub right now. Naruto, you home? She looked in all the rooms and couldn't find anything, no blonde, no brother, nobody. She huffed and sat down on the couch when her foot bumped a scroll. She bent down to pick it up and it unrolled. She recognized it as one of his scrolls that he street USD out of. Wonder what the hell he's always reading about. She didn't think anything about reading the scroll, since she often read over his shoulder. Most of the things he read about were theory and whatnot, things she cared nothing about. Although, falling asleep on his shoulder was always a pleasant thing. She snapped the scroll open and skimmed over the writing, her eyebrows ascending higher and higher into her hairline. What the? Elemental configurations, manipulation, botany, this is a damn gardening scroll. And yet, most of this is theory on how to control a force known as the green. Wonder what the hell that is. Not wanting to delve too far into his stuff, and she could always pester him later so he could explain it where she could understand it, she snapped the scroll shut and went up to her room to freshen up. The least she could do was look decent for the boy that evening. And if she had her way, he wouldn't be able to take his eyes off her. Naruto was decidedly less impressed than usual with his current situation. The little red panda, whose name was supposedly Sanzoku, had tired out halfway there and was now guiding the excursion while perched on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto was just about to throw the little bugger out into the sands and walk off when Sanzoku jumped off his shoulder and stood in front of him. Okay, we're here. Ready to meet Tsubasa-sama. As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose. As soon as Naruto said that, a large boom echoed over the desert and a huge puff of smoke enveloped him. He threw his arms up in defense and his eyes widened to the fullest when he gazed up at the monster in front of him. Hello there, young one. I am Tsubasa. In Suna, Gaara was immediately aware of the huge explosion and rushed to the walls to see what the threat was. It was too far away though, and he couldn't see it. He felt the familiar presence of his sister beside him and turned to see her in a bathrobe with a towel around her head. He seed his eyebrow questioningly and Temari growled at him. I just got out of the shower, I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I haven't seen Naruto since I got home. Mess with me and I'll S your balls off. Gaara wisely kept his mouth shut. Temari was a force to be reckoned with when angered, and it appeared she had been interrupted getting ready for her evening with Naruto. Whatever made that noise was not going to want to go up against her. Naruto was, for one of the few times in his life, tongue-tied. He had no smartass remark, no comeback, no nothing. Hell, he'd given lip to Gamabunter when he'd met him. But then, he had called Bunter out, not been summoned to meet him. This Tsubasa before him, was bigger than Gamabunter and had teeth. Oh lord, the teeth. The raccoon lord, sensing his discomfort, tried to be as civil as possible. It has come to my attention over the past year, that you are able to wield the green and make it do your bidding, am I correct? Naruto nodded dumbly. Am I also correct in assuming you no longer have a contract with the Toads? Another nod. What is your name, boy? Uzumaki Naruto, sir. There is no need to stand on ceremony with me, Naruto. I believe that we can be beneficial to one another. This land was once our home, back when it was beautiful and alive. We lived here in harmony with the forest and protected it. But then, somehow, the winds changed and the sun burned brighter, and the green left for other places. We stayed as long as we could, always hoping to return to our home, but we never could since there was no green. And then, by chance or fate, one of my children ran across you in the sacred cave and he saw that you were capable of controlling the green. Yeah, about that. Is it sort of like the Shodaime Hokage's Mokuton Jutsus? You know, controlling the green. No, he controlled the flora with chakra. You control the green's very essence. True, you use chakra to give life to the earth, but you actually control what grows instead of using the existing flora around you and bending it to your will. The Shodaime used existing flora, however little there was, and made it grow to suit his needs. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Do not worry. In time, we will explain more. But right now, I wish to broker a deal with you. What kind of deal? We, the raccoons and all our brethren, wish to offer our services to you as summons, if you will help us in bringing the green back to the land. We want our home back. How can you help me as summons? I wasn't even aware that there was a raccoon summon contract. There hasn't been a summoner for us in several hundred years. We are one of the most powerful and therefore, are reclusive and selective of those we aid. We have seen you and your deeds though Naruto, and have heard of your struggles. Tell me, would you not like our aid? Of course I would Tsubasa, but what, besides your home, do you gain out of this deal? Entry back into the world. It would seem that many of our brethren's summons have grown too complacent with their summoners and allow anyone to sign the contract. The only ones to hold any scruples at all are the slugs and toads. Katsuyu and Gamabunta have always been selective of who they choose. To have been one of the old toad summoners speaks highly of you Naruto. Yeah well, I guess so. Tell me, what can you do? We of the raccoon tribe are proficient in suit and jutsus. Another reason we can be beneficial to one another. We can help secure you a better water source to help feed the green. But we're in a desert. How can you be proficient in Sutan? You forget young one, we were once of the forest. We helped keep it alive and water is a necessary component of life. Therefore we honed our skills to be the best Sutan uses anywhere. I see. Tell me, what would I have to call you to battle? Only what chakra is necessary to call me. About the same as Gamabunta. Would you like to sign the contract now? We have it all drawn up for you. Naruto stared at the names of the previous signers and found only 2. The blood looked old and he wondered what the names were. They weren't written in kanji. Tsubasa, who are the names of these 2? Great warriors from a long race. Long ago, in what came to be known as the Americas, there were men who worshipped us like gods. The first was Telmet, a man of renowned strength. He could catch lightning in his hands and destroy his enemies. The other was known as Hiawatha, and he had many songs sung about him. He was our greatest ally and friend. We helped him rein in the great sturgeon of the lake and he, in turn, made our name famous throughout the land. Many praises were sung of us in folk song, but over the centuries after Hiawatha passed on into legend, our tale became one of the passing night and we were forgotten. Naruto looked solemn at that and bowed his head. It must be hard, being forgotten. Hi, it is, but that is why legends never truly s. There have been a few of our legends that survived. I believe your father might have some records on us. I have heard that he was a great learner of history from any culture, although we may have been filed under mythology. I see. Do I have your permission to summon some of your shorter followers to assist me with my classes? I know that they've been following me for the past year, I just couldn't prove it. Ah yes, the young ones would get most excited sometimes and allowed themselves to be seen. It is their natural curiosity. Wisdom comes with age and experience. I shall impart that knowledge to them later. Would you like me to sign the contract now? Please do. And then try to summon one of my people if you will. Naruto nodded and bit his thumb, already knowing the ritual for this particular procedure. Once his name was signed and the handprint made, the scroll rolled shut and disappeared by melting into water. He ran through the necessary seals and slammed his hands into the ground while shouting, Kuchio's no Jutsu. What appeared was not a raccoon, it was a large coati. The coati curled its tail behind it and blinked at its king. Tsubasa-sama, what am I doing here? Why did you call me? I did not call you. Meet our new summoner, Uzumaki Naruto. The coati's eyes widened and it stared hard at the much smaller human. Uzumaki, I approve. We have not had a summoner since Hiawatha. Perhaps, you will be greater than he. I certainly hope you will prove me right. I shall try my best. Ranpu. My name is Ranpu and you may call me any time. Thank you Ranpu. It is my pleasure. Tsubasa-sama, by your leave. Tsubasa nodded and Ranpu disappeared in a plume of smoke. He turned back to Naruto and grinned, flashing his teeth. I need not tell you how powerful or useful we are. You shall find out for yourself in due time. Sanzoku is to stay with you and be your own little personal assistant. He is tied to you through a bond in the scroll. How? I've never heard of a summon like that before. He overlaid his paw print with your handprint in the scroll and now you two are bound. He will help you as you go along. He is still young though, despite his maturity, and I expect you to help him grow. How big is he going to get? Red pandas are infamous for shapeshifting size, so don't worry about that. He will accommodate. Does he have to accompany me everywhere? I kind of have plans tonight. He will stay at your side unless told otherwise, although I'm sure after today's events, he wouldn't object to sleeping while you go frolic with your mate. He looks rather tired. Hey, she's not my mate, yet. Yes, we've observed her too. She is a wielder of our cousins, the weasels, and is quite proficient, or so they've said. Kirikiri is supposedly very fond of her. Who? The weasel with the giant scythe. Oh yeah, him. Indeed. I shall take my leave now. Sanzoku, you behave and listen to Naruto. Help him where necessary. I expect the green to start to encompass this wasteland soon. Goodbye for now, Naruto. Goodbye, Tsubasa. I shall call upon you when I have more ready for you. Please do. I wish to feel cool grass beneath my feet once more. As the Raccoon King vanished, Sanzoku leapt onto Naruto's shoulder and curled around his N. Let's get home, huh? I'm sleepy. Naruto didn't object. He looked to the sky and saw that it was nearly dark. He was tired too. Temari leapt to her feet when she heard the door slam and rushed downstairs to holler at her wayward housemate, but stopped short when he raised his hand with an odd twinkle in his eye. Temari, Sanzoku. Sanzoku, Temari. The bundle of red around his shoulders lifted a head and waved at her, eliciting a gasp and a seed eyebrow. Pleased to meet ya. What the hell? Get lost, furball, I got things to take care of. Sanzoku bounded off his shoulder and streaked off for the safety of Naruto's room. Temari watched as the red ball of energy ran past her legs and turned to ask Naruto what the hell it was, but she never got started. What? Red Panda? Where? Summoning contract. How? They contacted me. Why? I can help them, they can help me. But, Naruto was growing tired of this game and decided to shut her up by kissing her on the lips. Temari wasn't expecting that and was about to deepen it when he pulled back and took hold of her face with both hands. Now Temari, I know you're tired and probably mad at me for not being here, but I want you to go upstairs and get dressed because we're going out. If you're a good girl tonight, I'll throw in that end massage I know you've been wanting all week and a few kisses and hugs for good measure while I tell you all about my day and you tell me all about your TS. Naruto turned her around and patted her on the butt in a shooing message as he ushered her to the stairs. Come on, hurry up. I'm going to take a shower and get dressed. Let's go, we're burning daylight. As he passed her on the way to his room, Temari stood shocked and placed her hands on her cheeks where his hands had been and then touched her lips. Only two thoughts ran through her head. What the hell just happened? Damn, that was hot. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.